My goal is to craft digital storage in 30 days in one of Minecraft's hardest mod packs, Project Ozone 3 Mythic mode. Recipes are cranked up to 100. For example, a furnace requires 72 cobblestone instead of 9. And to make things harder, I'm doing it in hardcore, so if I die, I have to start over. Getting started on day 1, I punched the ground for pebbles to smash into cobblestone. With those cobblestones, I expanded our base because without expanding, we won't have the space to make the progress we need for making the storage scanner. But before we can even think about that, we need to farm some wood, because without wood, how would I craft? So I got to work farming some wood. While I was farming some wood, I broke down some logs into planks, which was 1 log to 1 plank, which was extremely brutal, especially if you're used to the 1 to 4 that is vanilla Minecraft. With those planks, I made a crafting table and a crook for better drop chances for saplings and apples, which will be important as you can make an apple tree sapling for unlimited baked apples. With food taken care of for the rest of the run, I turned to making clay. But before I could make clay, I had to craft a wooden crucible and an oak barrel, because in order for me to make clay, I needed water, which is obtained by breaking down organics like saplings and leaves in the oak crucible. With water in our possession, we can break down cobblestone into dust and turn that into clay by right-clicking it into the oak barrel full of water. To wrap up the day, I grew some more trees and infected them with my worms. Once the trees were fully infected, I vein mined all the white leaves and obtained string. With that string, I crafted 3 pieces of wool and smashed it into a bed and got my head down for the night, as I was very eepy. Waking up on day 2, my first goal was to farm more wood because I did not have nearly enough, especially if I wanted 9 sieves, considering it's 1 log to 1 plank. Once I got tired of throwing it back like my Cyrus in early 2013, I crafted the 9 oak sieves and 7 string meshes, which was way too many meshes considering the quest book gives you 8 for crafting 1. Before I begin sifting, I need to upgrade the string meshes to flint because string meshes don't give the right resource pool we need. Most of the day has already gone by, so to wrap up the day, I broke down some cobblestone into gravel and started sifting it for iron. The morning of day 3, I went back to sifting all the gravel I made on day 2 and smashing together all the iron scraps I got and threw it in the furnace to smelt. While waiting for the iron to cook, I broke down more cobblestone to craft into more clay. This clay will be turned into clay buckets, which we need for a cobblestone generator. But before we can make a cobblestone generator, we need to get lava. To get lava, we are going to need to make a porcelain crucible, which means I need porcelain, which is combining clay balls with bone meal. And to get the bone meal I need to sieve dust. It's a bit of a process, but shouldn't be too bad. So I immediately got to work breaking down more cobblestone into dust and started sieving. And of course, because RNG doesn't like me, I didn't get enough. Once I finally got enough material, I crafted the crucible and threw in some cobblestone after I finished cooking it. Once our first bucket of lava was done melting, I picked up with a clay bucket in preparation for our very first cobblestone generator. I ended the day with crafting a hopper botany pot for truly automating the apple sapling. This is especially overpowered in this pack because of the 1 log to 1 plank, and who doesn't like overpowered? I jumped out of bed on day 4 eager to craft my first cobblestone generator. This cobblestone generator has changed the challenge for the better. With passive cobblestone, I'll be able to get siftable materials easier, which means we are 1 step closer to getting digital storage. However, we can't continue to make progress without tools. So I crafted all the Tinker's construct tables I needed, like the tool station, crafting station, stencil table, part builder, and lastly, the pattern chest. While I was crafting my Tinker's parts for my tools, I was thinking about building a monster farm, but then I remembered the hunting dimension was a thing I could go to. I could either make a safe mob farm or chance it and go to the most hostile dimension in Minecraft. Oh, and armor is definitely not an option because to make just your basic iron gear is a chain of 8 crafts, so that's not even happening. So I would have to go in naked, but that's a tomorrow me problem, so I got my head down for the night. Waking up on day 5, my first objective was to prepare a bunch of iron to upgrade our meshes. While waiting for my iron to cook, I made my pickaxe, which I named Subscribe, which you should subscribe for more content like this in the the future. I'm trying to reach 2K subs by the end of the year. Shameless plug out of the way, I also made an axe called Ask You a Question because I'm not funny nor original. Now that I have my basic tools, it was time for my next goal, Ender Pearls. This goal is the scariest part of the storage scanner, but we press on. I make some wood shears to harvest some oak leaves to make some leafy fletching, which then I turn into some arrows. Those arrows plus some oak logs turn into hunting dimension portal frames. I expanded the base behind the apple tree just enough to fit the hunting dimension portal. To open the hunting dimension portal, I crafted an iron sword and slashed the portal frame. I was looking through JEI for a cheaty sneaky recipe for steel when I thought I heard what sounded like an arrow being fired at me, which scared the heck out of me. When I looked up, there was a skeleton that had come through the hunting dimension portal, which was not ideal. I quickly took action, taking out the skeleton and reinforcing my portal area with fence gates and fences. Waking up on day 6, my first task was to upgrade our flint meshes to iron. This was going to increase our resource chances, but also allow us to get things like diamonds, emeralds, and other modded resources. With all these new resources, I crafted a diamond sword and jumped into the hunting dimension. I took one step onto the grass and cowardly left to go get more resources to build a safer spawn area. Once I finished making the hunting dimension portal spawn area safe, it was time to face our very first Enderman. I'm just going to let my live reaction speak for me. Yep, that's an Enderman. Oh, he can break blocks. Oh no. He can break blocks. That little twerp. Come here. I don't trust him. Ow! Oh my god! You hit hard. Oh my god, you hit hard. Dear God. Hey! Leave that alone. That's mine. That block does not belong to you. Ow! Hold on, I need to heal. Oh my god. No, don't do it. Don't you dare do it. Dude, this is a high stretch situation. Come here, you little twerp. Gotta be careful, I don't get hit by a creeper. But I'm not full health yet. Oh, you bum. What the heck? I don't trust him. Come here. After killing my first Enderman, I thought he didn't drop a pearl, so I found a second one, which did drop a pearl, but turns out when I killed the first Enderman, he did drop his pearl. So now I have 2 pearls, which means I never have to fight another Enderman again, thank the Lord, because that was the closest I have been to dying so far. Knock on carbon fiber, I don't have to worry about that for the rest of the run, but I have my doubts. Back at home from that scary adventure, I spent the rest of the day relaxing and breaking down cobblestone into both gravel and sand. Day 7 started off with me being AFK for 10 minutes while I used the bathroom. I was so mad I wasted half the day because I thought I had paused the game. What a skill issue. I crafted some more clay and turned that into 1 stack of grout. That is nowhere near enough grout. It just came to me that I need the porcelain smeltery before the smeltery. It's the baby version of the smeltery. Without it, there's no progress, so I quickly calculated how much porcelain we needed, which is 34 pieces. And of course I don't have the things we need, so it's back to sifting for bone meal because I'm not going back to fight skeletons. Nope, no way, you can't make me. Just like that, in a blink of an eye, day 7 was over and it was time to put my head down. What a waste of a day. I will never let this go. Waking up on day 8, my first priority was to cook the porcelain clay into bricks and also craft and cook the faucet. While I was waiting for the porcelain to cook, I I had a special visitor sneak up on me and spook me. Oh, that's how he snuck up on me. I left the gate open. Once my heart settled down from exploding out of my chest, I started to plan my next big goal, which was getting into immersive engineering and making the coke oven and blast furnace. After making some plans, I looked at the recipe one more time for the storage scanner, making sure I wasn't missing anything that could potentially end this run. Because if so, I am going to be one sad hunter because I would have wasted so much time. All the porcelain finally finished cooking and I started slapping together all the parts for the porcelain smeltery, like the basin and the controller, but I quickly realized I didn't make enough, so the rest of the day was spent getting more porcelain made and cooked. Getting out of bed on day 9, my first objective was to start building the porcelain smelter. Now that the porcelain smelter is built, we need to throw some cobblestone into the porcelain crucible to make lava because, well, that's the fuel we need for the porcelain smelter. So we are gonna need that. Next on our to-do list is a bucket. Unless if we want to keep replacing these clay buckets, it's probably in our best interest to make an iron bucket. But for us to do that, we need iron plates, and for us to get iron plates, we need a plate cast. Thankfully, that is easy enough. With just 2 clay balls, I can flatten them into an unfired clay plate, then cook them at 135 degrees Celsius, and for those of you who use Fahrenheit, 275. With that prepped and ready to be casted into a cast, unfortunately, we're still waiting for lava so we can heat up our porcelain smelter. So that is going to have to be put on pause for now. While we wait for that, let's start gathering more clay, bricks, and sandstone for making coke bricks. Before I build the coke oven, I smash together a ton of iron and toss them into a furnace to start cooking. While the iron is cooking, I finish gathering the rest of the resources to craft the coke bricks and place them down in a 3x3 pattern. But there is one more step before we can use the coke oven. But unfortunately, it's getting late, so that's gonna have to wait till tomorrow. This day felt like a big turning point because it felt like things are finally starting to pick up. Getting out of bed on day 10, I rushed into the hunting dimension to yoink some grass and quickly got the hell out of there. Back at home, I took some of the dirt we just yoinked and put it through the sifter. I'm looking for industrial hemp seeds, and once I got them, I planted them down and used the last of my bone meal I had to grow the industrial hemp seeds. Breaking the top of the industrial hemp plant will give you the industrial hemp fibers, but before I make myself the engineer's hammer, I move the lava from the crucible into the porcelain smelter to get gold melting. One of my goals by the end of today is to fully automate obsidian, but for me to do that, I need to move lava from the crucible to a stone barrel. To do that, we are gonna need iron pipes, but those need zinc, which I don't have. So what does that mean? That means we need to sift a new material, and that material is sand. So I got to work sifting some sand. Also, sand is important for electrotine, which will be needed for the storage scanner. So this is very much needed. Now that we have both zinc and electrotine, I crafted the engineer's hammer and cooked up the zinc in the furnace. While waiting for the zinc to cook up, I poured molten gold over the clay plate, and out comes a plate cast. Don't know how that doesn't instantly vaporize the plate because molten gold is 1064 degrees Celsius or 1947 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that's hot. The rest of the day was spent automating obsidian because it's very slow to start and we need to get to the nether soonish or we'll fall behind. Waking up on day 11, I get out of bed in the mood for automation, so my first task was to finish the obsidian automation from day 10 by making a wrench and pulling out the lava from the crucible into the stone barrel. Just before I finished the obsidian automation, I quickly activate the coke oven and tossed in some coal to get started on creosote and coke because that is another slow process. After getting that started, I automated grout by hoppering grout into the porcelain smelter and pouring out molten gold onto an iron ingot, which gives us an ingot cast for the seared bricks. And sadly, because this is mythic mode, we have to do it this way, which takes a billion years. After setting up the grout to cook, I finally finished the obsidian automation by placing water on top of the stone barrel. With obsidian done, I finished the seared brick automation by adding a hopper and a timer. The rest of the day I spent automating clay by using a super overpowered item called a sink. Today has raised my confidence levels tenfold. I definitely feel like I can craft the storage scanner in 30 days. Waking up on day 12, I started gathering all the resources for the blast bricks, like bricks and blaze powder. While we wait for the lava to make the obsidian, I decided to start preparing some of the items we need for the storage scanner. One of those items is electrical ingots, which is going to need steel, so we can't craft that right now, but at least we can prepare the glowstone and redstone. At this point, I decided decided to start placing all the storage scanner items into a chest for safekeeping. I want to try and get all of the easy items out of the way, so that way I have more days to work on the much harder items. But to do that, we are going to need another multi-block from Immersive Engineering called the alloy kiln. So I got right to crafting some bricks and some sandstone and quickly pieced it together and tossed in 4 copper and 16 electrotine dust to make the 4 electrotine we need for the scanner. After finishing up the electrotine, I decided to upgrade the lava production from 1x to 3x by placing lava underneath the crucible where the torch used to be. I next took a peek at the machine frame for the storage scanner and realized I needed redstone blocks, which I thought were the default recipe, but it turns out they require redstone alloy and not redstone, which means I'm gonna need a lot more redstone. So I spent the rest of the day sieving for more redstone. Waking up on day 13, my first goal was to make some red alloy by tossing in 9 copper ingots and 36 redstone. And for the rest of the day, all I did was sift for a ton of resources and compacting them down so they were easily accessible for me when I needed them later on. This day was incredibly lackluster in terms of progress. Hopefully moving forward we can make way more progress, because honestly today didn't feel great. Getting out of bed on day 14, the first thing I checked was how our obsidian was doing, and oh boy, it was not doing great. But I decided to ignore that for now and instead crafted the machine frame block that I was meant to craft like 2 days ago. Better late than never, right? Moving into the next objective, crafting the unstable ender pearl. It needs obsidian. Great. Our obsidian production needs to pick up the pace. We only have 16 days to make the storage scanner. I decided to do a little side quest and make another lava generator, which was a mistake because the headache I gave myself was not worth it. Creosote going into places where it shouldn't go? Like why? It's not even a valid fuel, which forced me to automate the moving of creosote into a tank. I finished the lava generator and put my head down because I just wanted the day to be over. Day 15 was going to be a good one. I got out of bed and the first task I did was upgrade subscribe from a mining level of iron to a mining level of cobalt. I am getting so sick of waiting for this obsidian, so I decided to take another peek, and it turns out blaze mesh blocks are an insane multiplier, a 30x multiplier. I could have had this done like a week ago. With lava upgraded to its fullest potential, I finally got all of the obsidian I needed to make a nether portal. However, it wasn't over yet because I still had to light the portal, which means making a flint and steel. And yes, it is what you think it is, steel. You need steel ingots to make the flint and steel and not your normal iron. That's how mythic mode will get you. I spent the rest of the day converting redstone into netherrack from lava. Waking up on day 16, the task of the day is to get those pesky nether bricks cooked. Once the nether bricks were finished cooking, I was finally able to craft the blast bricks I needed to build the blast furnace, and I got to immediately building the blast furnace and chucking in some coal, coke, and iron to make steel. While that is cooking, I cooked up some copper and nickel, and it was time to make concentrate by throwing in the copper and nickel into the alloy kiln, just like how we made the red alloy and electrotine ingots. At this point, I was feeling pretty confident that I could finish before 30 days was over. However, that would imply we had a perfect nether and or we don't bin it and die. Getting out of bed on day 17, I felt like today was going to be the day I make huge progress towards the goal of making the storage scanner. The first task for today was making some charcoal so I can make the special table I needed for the electrical ingots. Now that the charcoal was done cooking, I went to craft the workbench when I realized I crafted the wrong dye. It's supposed to be blue, not light blue. A quick fix, and now I have the workbench. With the workbench crafted, it was finally time I crafted the most important item in this video, besides the storage scanner, flint and steel. With flint and steel in our possession, it was time to make some constantan sheet metal slabs, getting us one step closer to the storage scanner. Next on my list of tasks to do is to make a sledgehammer, and I named it Sledgy. Right before the day came to an end, I ended up making the wire cutters. Waking up on day 18, my first goal was to make the wires we needed for the fine copper wire. The next goal was to take a peek into the nether and start digging down to bedrock. My pickaxe broke, so I had to go all the way back because I forgot my repair kits, and on the way back, I had to sneak by some very scary monsters. Back in the nether and digging towards bedrock, I almost fell to my death trying to mine around this bloody huge lava lake. I spent the rest of the day getting to the bottom of the nether and getting our very first set of nether quartz. Day 19, I spent the entire day getting crushed netherrack for tungsten, and yeah, that's literally it. Waking up on day 20, my first goal is to sift the crushed netherrack I just got for tungsten, and luckily that didn't take too long. We are so close to making the storage scanner. However, we have one big problem: rhodochrosite. To get rhodochrosite, we need redstone ore, and the only way to get redstone ore is in the nether. But before I go into the nether, I have two tasks I need to complete. The first task is to turn subscribe into an unbreakable version, and the last task is to craft the fine copper wire. It was finally time to go into the nether and make massive holes trying to find redstone. After a little bit of searching, I finally found my first set of ores. We needed just a little bit more, and when I found another set of ores and vein mined it, they decided to explode and push me into lava, nearly ending the run. So I decided to get out of there while I was ahead because I was not risking the run. On the way home, I was met with another scary monster blocking my way home. Some icy blaze looking dude, and of course, I was too scared to fight him and I just ran away. Waking up on day 21, my first task on day 21 was to throw on all the lapis I had to add fortune to my subscribe. With all the fortune we have, I broke down the redstone ore into the redstone ore and then broke that down into redstone and hoping that we get rhodochrosite, and thankfully we got 2. As the day was coming to a close, I crafted 3 machine frames from Axie Editions and red alloy. Waking up on day 22, I was hit with this feeling that today was going to be the day I craft the storage scanner. The first task for today is going to be to make a coal generator, which was fairly simple. The next task was to craft our very first machine called the Atomic Reconstructor, which will allow us to zap redstone with a laser into Restonia. Our next goal is to make a crusher to crush up the rhodochrosite into crushed rhodochrosite. With this rhodochrosite, we can now cook it into the manganese oxide dust, which then gets cooked into the ingot form. It's time to craft the final item we need for the storage scanner. And just like that, we have everything we need for the storage scanner. Let's get that bad boy crafted. To wrap up the day, I made some iron chests and then chilled and watched the sunset, feeling proud. I decided to end the challenge early because we did it. We made digital storage in 30 days. It's not AE digital, but it's digital nonetheless. Unfortunately, I didn't think about making wireless until like day 28, and that's just not enough time to make it. So I decided to just stop here because it's a pretty good stopping point. But nonetheless, this was my very first scripted video. I want to say thank you to everyone who clicked on this video and gave it a chance. It was really rough for me, and that's why it took so long for me to make, but I will get better, I promise. But thank you so much for watching. If you haven't clicked the subscribe button, give it a click. I will be doing a lot more of these videos like this in the future, and if you like the traditional Let's Plays, don't worry, those are here to stay, but in a different format, just live. And that way I can chat with you guys. If you have any questions, I can answer them. Anyways, I'm rambling. Click the subscribe button, ding the bell, and for the next video, I will be beating my favorite mod pack in one video. But for now, you can watch this.